How's that? How's that sound? Okay, let's get rolling. Today, we got a really good, I hope, informative series for you. In that, I really, audio is a passion of mine. It has been for quite some time, from my early days when I worked at Autodesk, and then I got into working with the folks at the THX group at Lucasfilm. I've always had a passion for just the way sound can be processed, kind of like what we were talking about in the other lesson on lighting. This is something to me that, much like you can shape lighting, you can shape sound to get the best results. Now, a lot of people will tell you that they are, any old microphone will do when it comes to live streaming. And I want to put my comments up here. Make sure to check in if you haven't. Hey Andy, how's it going, man? This is, they'll say, well, you can use this microphone or this cheap microphone and that, so on and so forth. And while I agree, and I'll demonstrate one of the microphones that I have that is technically cheap, they get cheaper, and generally speaking, you get what you pay for, right? It's like anything else. But there is a law of diminishing returns. With the higher the cost of the microphone, the higher, or the what you'll see is less and less of an improvement. And it takes a real audiophile to understand the nuances, the differences between, say, a $1,200 microphone and a $2,400 microphone. And the way that the microphones pick up your audio, no microphone really is specific. Like it's a open, like it'll get everybody's voice. For instance, for me, I decided that I was going to go with this microphone, which is the Electro Voice RE20. Now, it is a big microphone. It has an even bigger shock mount on it, and it's highly directional. It's been in the broadcast industry longer than pretty much any other mic in the industry, and it was primarily used, or it has been primarily used, at radio stations and broadcast media. And to put not too fine of a point on it, but one of my most respected audio broadcasters, talk radio, used the RE20, and I loved what it did for his voice. So I decided to go with this. There was almost like a no questions type thing. I know a lot of people who have selected the Shure SM7B or the SM7DB, depending upon what their needs are. And that's fine. I mean, I'm not here to judge. I think really what people need to understand is that each microphone is going to be good for a particular type of vocal pattern. And there will be some that really just, I don't know what's the best way to put it, but there'll be some that just, they don't sound good no matter what you do. You can put them through a bunch of processing, but like anything else, audio processing does have its limitations, and you go from sounding really, really good to really, really robotic and not, that much time. So, I try to keep something, or I went with this microphone mainly because I don't have to put it through a lot of processing. I'm using it with my Rodecaster Pro 2, and I liked it so much I bought a second one. So when I do have guests in studio, we have at least tonally matched microphones, and that's something that was important to me. Again, tonal matching was something that I remember from my days working with THX. So I wanted to have the same audio source capabilities and the same values. Now, the audio processing that goes on the RCP 2, the Rodecaster Pro 2, that's going to vary voice to voice, but the actual the preamps and everything else that go into driving that microphone are what's important to keep your low noise level and also keep the sound quality as high as possible. So one of the things about these microphones, these are the dynamic microphones, much like the SM7B. The dynamic microphones are very directional in that they work. Usually they're a top address, meaning that you talk into the top of them for them to pick up most of the audio. Of course, when you do that, you also run the risk of introducing what they call plosives, and plosives are no bueno if you're doing any kind of audio broadcast at all, because your P's, your B's, or anything that involves a movement of air along with your voice in a significant amount will pop that capsule that's inside your microphone and cause it to accentuate that air movement over the capsule, and it's very distracting and it sounds unprofessional. So typically when most of the people that use either this microphone or basically any dynamic microphone that's top address, you kind of aim it, across your mouth instead of it being pointed directly at. Because if I do this, I can I can talk like P and B, and I can see the meter popping like that, and also if I'm breathing, it'll pick that up. So I tend to keep it a little bit off axis here, but it's still going across my mouth, and it's obviously picking up the audio because I can see it loud and clear in the Rodecaster Pro. So this is something that I think for most people that are doing live streaming videos, that dynamic microphones, especially if you're doing a talking head type thing like this, they work the best. They're great at noise canceling, meaning not the noise canceling that you get in the headphones these days, but actually I think it's probably more appropriate to call it noise rejection. So outside of this pattern, which this kind of spherical pattern that you can kind of visualize around the capsule itself, that pattern will be your highest pickup area. And then outside of that, you might pick up some audio, but it's going to be much less than you would get if this was picking up all around it. And so these directional mics work great for spoken word, for voice. And I tend to prefer these. I've worked with other types of microphones, and I have one here that we'll listen to. That you'll be able to tell the difference almost immediately based on the pattern, the cardioid pattern that is around that mic's capsule. So my main message here is, it doesn't matter how that audio is getting into your computer. Make sure to select a microphone that complements your voice. And sometimes that takes some figuring out. It's not necessarily the most obvious thing the first time you attempt it. You may pick it and go, wow, it sounds great. My bass and my voice sounds really good. I have a super nasally voice, and I used to hate hearing myself recorded. I'm used to it now, because when you do enough editing and you hear over and over and over again, it just kind of, it's like anybody else's voice. But initially it was something that drove me crazy. But with the processing that I can put this microphone's audio through, I can boost the bass and kind of remove some of the kind of higher frequency, mid to high range frequency nasal components of my voice. So it sounds a little bit more broadcast style. And I tend to hop back when I get a new microphone from for testing or for whatever. If I go to look at my my Osmo here, you can see I've got all my settings here. And for instance, with the RE20, I'm using the RE20 here. Let me move this up a little bit. I'm using the RE20 preset that's built into the Rodecaster Pro 2, and I'm not using any presets. I actually dialed in each and every. So my noise gate here, you can see the noise gate going, the compressor, and the equalizer. And equalizer is going to largely depend on your voice, but that's something that you want to play around with. And there are tons of videos on how to set up your Rodecaster Pro, sometimes specific to the microphone that you own. So you want to tune that microphone, and it's going to take some practice. I often hear, like, you can listen to your audio in like a pair of cans like this. I got these are from Shure, and they're great. And I can get really good audio out of them, much better than the in-ear monitors that I also have as well. The in-ear monitors are good for when you're having a conversation. These guys here, right? So if I were to put this in like this, I can hear myself through this in-ear monitor. And I don't need that right now because I'm the only person talking. I'm not getting any audio back to me that could potentially be reflected back into my broadcast. So I don't need these at the moment. But if I'm in a conversation like with you, Andy, tomorrow, I'll be wearing these, and that's going to make it so that it'll almost sound like if somebody were to walk by the studio, it would sound like I'm talking to myself, because there will be no other audio in the room except my voice, but I'll be able to hear the entire show through these in-ear monitors. They're not that great of quality. They're fine for the purposes of for our broadcast, because you're really just trying to hear things. But when you want to hear the actual quality of your broadcast, you want to plug in these guys, your headphones, the nice quality headphones. These aren't that expensive. I think they're, I don't know. We'd have to look them up, but on the Shure website, I think we got these at Christmas, and they were, I don't remember them being terribly expensive. I've certainly seen more expensive, but these work great. And Fulgens from the Anna, from ENN, him with Anna. Fulgens has these, and he loves them too. And I also like the black and gold trim details on it. So that's my superficial side coming out. So that's, as far as monitoring your audio quality after you have your microphone set up, you absolutely want to have a way to isolate your voice so you can hear yourself through the microphone, and then do some test recordings in Ecamm with that microphone, because at some point you will have audio issues, or somebody might complain. I see it all the time. Your voice is too low, or or it's blown out. It could be any number of things, and you obviously don't want to. People will put up with crappy audio for a moment, but you can get away with much worse video quality before you can audio quality, because ultimately they have to be able to hear. If I'm sitting here doing this and I start this, right? But that's the whole point of the audio being a good quality. Also, when you're using the dynamic microphones, they have a better, as I mentioned, they have the better noise rejection, but also I'm not really in much of a sound treated room right now. I've got some of those octagon or hexagon shaped panels on my ceiling here, and I've got a carpeted floor, and that's about the extent of it. I try and minimize the hard surfaces, but I'm staring at 4 glass monitors right now, so that's about as reflective as you're going to get. And so you want to minimize that reflection back into your microphone, because it comes in the form what sounds like an echo. But the audio treatment is just as important as the lighting and everything else. You want to make sure that room is not highly reflective. One of the things that really gets me, especially with people who are quote unquote pros, is they'll get on a YouTube interview with somebody else, and they may look great or not, but they're a professional, in their own show. But then they get on your show, and they have they're using like the laptop's microphone or their iPhone's microphone, and they're using the camera from that source. And I understand that sometimes they're not in their own studio. I get that, but they don't even try. It's like there's so many. You can get like one of those little Rode shotgun microphones that would sound infinitely better and plugs into the base of your iPhone, and you would sound so much better than if you're using the microphone that's on the iPhone. So that's just a personal, um, uh, something that bothers me more than anything else is when people start, coming onto your show and they're ill prepared, and that's why you have a checklist. A lot of people have built up checklists for their guests, and as far as like not only a tech check, but also what kind of equipment do you have, and this frankly, this is why the Zoom integration in Ecamm is so nice to have now, because you can have people come in with whatever Zoom settings are default for them, and they don't have to wear headphones, and the noise cancellation that works on Zoom side is a lot like what you would get from a speakerphone, meaning the way speakerphones work in like the office, like those Polycon ones that look like little flying saucer spaceship type things that sit in the middle of the conference table, those have a one-way audio. So if it detects audio from the outside going into the microphone, it shuts off the speaker. And then at the same time, and there's a threshold there too, but then at the same time, when the speaker is active and everybody in the room can hear whoever is on the phone, the microphone's shut off. And that's why a lot of people feel like they get, they get stepped on, because the technology itself is preventing it from happening. Otherwise, you'll get an echo. Like if I talk and I'm talking into a room full of people on one of those conference phones, if my voice comes out and then the microphones are right on either side of the speaker, it's going to get reflected right back into me, and I'll hear myself. And that's what a lot of people experience in interview mode in Ecamm. So Zoom fixes a lot of those issues. It's not the end all be all, don't get me wrong, but it certainly has made it way easier to get a lot of interview guests on, because they can just fire up Zoom with whatever default settings Zoom has, and if they're not tech savvy, and it works. The audio component of it works. So I got a little off track there, but we are talking about microphones. So the next thing is I wanted to go through a few of the microphones that I have in-house here, and just so you can hear the differences between them. I've got right now set up, we've obviously been using the RE20. I have a shotgun mic just right here. If I take it down, can you see it? Nope. But it's literally right here. I usually try and aim the shotgun mic above my chest, but below my mouth. And I've been told that is a good way to pick up the vocal range of a person, is that you're getting some of the bass resonating off of their chest plate at the same time you're getting the vocals from their mouth. And so I've got that. And actually, let me go and turn that on. And let's see. Yeah, let's see here. Okay, so now I'm talking into the shotgun mic. I didn't really tune it that much for today, so if it sounds a little odd, then that's more my fault than anything. This is from a company in China called Synco, Synco. This is their D2 microphone, and I believe it retails for around, depends on if you can catch them on sale or not, but I think it, like most of the time you'll see it right around $200 for the microphone. And what's nice about this is that if like I've got this microphone in the way, I can, sometimes if I get with animated expressions, I can move that mic out of the way and I can use the full range of my hands, right? And that's something that's nice to have, is that you can just talk. And this, like for instance, Tom Buck uses a shotgun mic over himself in almost all of his shots, except for when he's using his SM7B. But for the most part, like all the videos you see, he's got a shotgun mic suspended above him and he's talking into it. And that allows him to kind of talk freely, and it doesn't keep him tethered down or have to worry about knocking a microphone with his hands. And I have a little bit of Italian in me, so I tend to get a little bit animated when I'm talking about something I'm passionate about. And I've been known to bump this microphone. And even though this is a beefy, shotgun mic, or beefy dynamic microphone with this amazing shock mount, it will still pick up me whacking the end of the microphone. So I tend not to, if there's going to be anything where I need to talk or highlight something, I'll move that out of the way. But you can tell that the audio difference is there. This is a condenser microphone, which means it requires power to the microphone in order to work correctly. And essentially what that does is it amplifies the signal as it's going down to the Rodecaster Pro. It energizes the capsule that's in the microphone, and it broadens the pattern. But it also means that I can go off axis a little bit like this and like this, and the audio really doesn't change all that much. And it's nice to have that, because it does give you some flexibility and movement too, right? Whereas if I go, see if I can turn that guy down. Oops, let's do this here. Come on. Whereas if I've got my RE20 here, and if I do this, I'm already distant, or if I do this, I'm distant. And that's one of the nice things about having these shotgun mics. They just work really well for when they're used in live TV shows. I mean, all over the place. Even a lot of podcast interviews that you'll see online. I know the Hot Ones uses that when they have the two guys and they have the microphone suspended. You don't ever see like a lav mic or anything like that, which we'll get to in a second. But they just suspend the microphone directly over them. And because this is where audio treatment inside the room becomes very handy, because you can probably notice that the reflections are getting picked up in the room a bit more with this microphone than it was with the dynamic microphone with the RE20. And that's because it's picking up a lot more around it. And, the way the shotgun mics work is you'll notice that they have slits down the side. And what that does is it takes in the audio from the ambient audio inside the room or wherever you're at, and it uses that information to cancel out a vast majority of the additional sounds that are working inside the room. So the audio enters in through the side, and then the microphone figures out, okay, that needs to go. And what's coming off the end of the mic is where you're focusing the sound pickup. They tend to have fairly tight patterns, but I've noticed, like for instance, I've got my window open and I've got a fairly busy road, at least during rush hour, down the hill towards my house here. And I've noticed that if I don't use a noise gate or something along those lines, it will, any kind of noise cancellation, it'll pick up sometimes when people drive by, especially people who have loud cars or loud motorcycles or whatever. All right, so that's the shotgun mic. And again, I think shotgun mics are great. I if I could find one that, I think it's a combination. For me, I think it's a combination of more audio treatment in this room to deaden the sound a little bit, so there's a little bit less reflectivity. And I think it's probably, for me at least, maybe a slightly better microphone. But first things first, the sound treatment stuff is relatively cheap and is useful no matter what microphone I use. So I'll probably go with that first. And if it makes this microphone work great, then great. And if it doesn't for some reason, then I will look at upgrading the microphone. But that's generally how I roll. I've got enough microphones, and I do not aspire to be a Tom Buck when it comes to the number of microphones that I have, although I'm on my way and just a year and some change into it. Okay, so speaking of which, I did want to talk about um, the other condenser mic I have here. And this one, unfortunately, gets a bad rap. And I don't know, well, I know why, but I really wish that it didn't, because it's kind of a cool looking microphone, but for whatever reason, people just, hey, Tats, people kind of crap all over this microphone. And that is, of course, the Blue Yeti, which is not blue and does not look like a cooler. It was the original microphone that I started with, and I caught my fair share of crap for using this instead of a more professional microphone. And, this is a great starter mic, to be honest with you. My cousin who does the show with me on Saturdays, he has a Yeti, and it sounds fine. It's no, is it the greatest sound? No, but this is one of the pre-Logitech microphones. So this is an XLR connection and a USB connection, and I find that it does exactly, Andy. I find that it does great for most cases. And what's nice about the Yeti is that it also, because it has switchable pickup patterns, you can cycle through. For instance, if you're having a conversation with somebody, you can have an omnidirectional pickup pattern, which means it picks up all around the microphone. Of course, it also picks up all the noise around the microphone too, so you have to be in a relatively quiet space. But if you're doing an interview, you can quite literally put the microphone between you and the guest, and it'll pick up both voices. If it's perfectly centered, it'll pick up both voices equal amounts, and it sounds fine. So let me turn that guy on. And let's see here. I've got these on virtual slide or faders, so that's why it's taking a little bit longer. Okay, so now here's the Yeti. I'm talking into it now. This one has what's known as a proximity effect, and it also notices that picks up plosives a lot more. And that's why you put one of these little guys on here. This is some acoustically treated foam, and now my P's and B's will be a lot less pronunciated. And when I put that, of course, it doesn't look as cool, but I mean, it is what it is. It works. So this is a side address microphone, meaning you talk at it from the side. You don't talk at it this way. The capsules themselves are actually aiming around the perimeter of the microphone. So, and there's a reason for that. That's because of the way that the microphone is designed with those different pickup patterns. So, right now I'm on it's kind of the front address, and if I switch over, this is omnidirectional, so it doesn't matter which side I talk into the microphone. You see, it's not canceling any noise at all. It all sounds the same. So this would be where in an interview this would work great. But again, if you have any kind of noise going in the space, you either have to have some kind of noise gate, some kind of noise, whether it be like a noise gate setting or a noise cancellation setting like Crisp. I used Crisp with this microphone, and frankly, I thought it sounded just fine. So this is, I still use these, but I am trying to offload them because I feel like a new coming podcaster would benefit from one of these versus me anymore, because I've got two of these RE20s. So But at the same time, these are great backup microphones. If I need them in a pinch, these are great for that. So these are condenser mics. So you can see, I think you can see the, well, let me turn it. Yeah, that you see that that's lit up right there. That's to indicate that it has power going to the microphone, and that's energizing the capsule again, and that's how you get your um, your audio source uh, to sound good, is because the microphone itself is capturing that audio through an energized setup versus something that is just passive like the dynamic microphones. This one also has a weird connection on it. It's a 5-pin. Here, let me switch over to my RE20. I'm going to get off of this mic. Okay, so this one it's got a 5-pin XLR connector off the bottom of it. And there we go. That's kind of hard to see, but let me see if I can get the, yeah. See, it's got the tiny little pins on it, right? And what you're used to seeing with XLR is, let's see, that. See, 3 pins and a little bit fatter too. So you'll need a converter when you're connecting this microphone from a 5 to a 3 pin, which of course, whoever ends up getting one of these from me, they'll just get it because I don't need it. But usually the 5-pin connectors are for DMX, which is lighting, and it's not necessary. I don't know why they went with that route for this microphone, but it was always a point of consternation for me. I was like, why do I have to buy an adapter just to get it to work in an XLR system? But I did. And that's that. So then the last one I want to talk about is my lavalier setup. And I'm going to go through my Rodecaster Pro to make the lavalier setup work. So I am using the DJI Mic 1, and I like these. I have one of the Mic 2s, one of the newer ones that has the 32-bit float on it and the float recording. It also has Bluetooth instead of through a proprietary RF receiver, but I use it with the Osmo Pocket 3 more than anything. I don't use it for my computer. I don't think it's necessary, to be honest with you. But here's how it works with the Rodecaster Pro. And I do use this when I'm walking around my studio and I've got like my camera set up. So I'm following myself around with my iPhone or something along those lines. Let's see. And so I've got, I'll switch over to the DJI. Okay. So here is the receiver. Okay. And it's just waiting for a signal. And then what I have, we'll move it up a little bit here. You can see, well, I have a little bit of a spaghetti dish going on with microphones. But what I did is I bought a cable that's got 1/8 inch out or 1/8 inch in, depending upon how you want to look at it, and 1/8 inch on one side. And then I also have 1/4 inch on the other side. So I can, with this cable, I can connect this receiver to the Rodecaster Pro, because the Rodecaster Pro on the back takes this 1/4 inch connection. So if I plug it in here, there we go. And now if you see me plug in not headphone, but there it is. You can see it's got the headphone and then it's got out. So I plug it into out, and then the display will update indicating that it's got that particular connection enabled on it. And I've also got this guy set up already here. So let me do what you've been seeing podcasters do. I don't know why they're doing this. It looks weird, but I guess in a pinch it makes it's fine. But if I turn this on and I go to this, I'm going to turn off this microphone. There we go. You can see now I'm talking into the DJI mic, and it sounds just fine. You know, I can get really close on it. I can move it away, right? And this little guy here is a great device because it carries a fairly significant charge, and it sounds great. But the problem with this thing, especially if you've got one of these thin t-shirts, is that if you clip it on, well, first of all, it's we used to say, wow, it's so small, and now we're saying, God, it's so big. Well, the problem is that because it's got all this technology packed into a small product, what happens is you hang it on your shirt slowly starts to pull down, 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 down like that. And we don't want that. So DJI also makes a lavalier mic. And I'm going to plug this guy in. Just give me a second here. And you can see at the top, there we go, you see that little mesh area right there. That is the microphone itself built into the transmitter. And then immediately on the right hand side there, you'll see that there's like a little hole. That's an 1/8 inch jack. And so, and obviously you can see my voice coming in and out as I move this thing around. However, what I have here is a lavalier mic that was made by DJI, and this one you can clip, and it's so much more lightweight, okay, so much more. And you can aim it. It's got like little stops on the clip, so you can aim it a little bit better. And then if I plug it in, see, now I'm talking normally and I'm moving around and my hands are free. So this is really nice to have in terms of getting the best sound possible when you want to have a kind of a hands-free setup. And this is the only configuration that I have in the studio where I allow a wireless transmission, and I don't really ever use Bluetooth. Not that I think anything's wrong with Bluetooth, but I've just heard too many horror stories of people either losing their Bluetooth connection and their show goes sideways real quick, or I will see something along the lines of some kind of interference or something like that, and then it's hard to tell. But I know that the DJI receiver to transmitter connection is rock solid, and it should work just fine. So that is, I mean, the DJI mic. So here I'm just going to do this for fun. Okay, I didn't want it to record, but let's see. Okay, we're not recording now. That's another thing. These guys you can record on the transmitter. That's really nice too, because you have backup recording. So even if you're not, even if you're recording on your computer, you can be recording your audio to this guy too, and then it just comes in as an old school WAV file that you can then, you know, bring in. So if you have messed up audio for some reason, anyway, I'm gonna just kind of move outside here, and you can see the DJI mic no matter where I am. So I'm on the back side. I am right behind my camera right now, and everything sounds consistent no matter where I go. And that's the best part. That's the beauty of these lavalier microphones, is that, hey, what's up, Neil? What's really nice about these microphones is that in the event that you need hands-free, you want good quality, because this, unlike the shotgun mic, which I was using earlier, this microphone goes with you no matter what. So It's the difference between sitting in front of your microphone and having hands-free versus just being completely hands-free and walking wherever you want in the studio. I tend not to do that, but I have the ability to go back there and maybe start a review or start a show from back behind me, and then I'll come into the the big chair right here, right? So this is just going through the Rodecaster Pro, and it's just that, again, it's that simple 1/4 inch cable, 1/8 inch to 1/4 inch cable that's right there on the back of my Rodecaster, and I just set it as an input source, and so it's line level. I've got it to 40 dB gain. I don't have any processing on right now. I could turn that on. I don't know if it's going to do anything. Let's see. Okay, so now the processing is on. I can't tell if there's a difference because I don't have monitors in right now, but maybe that enhanced the audio a little bit. Who knows? But these guys work great. Whether or not you're using them in studio or not, they work great. And I personally, I can't walk around with these all day long. But if I needed to catch some audio in a pinch, these are great to have. And this little case that the DJIs come with, wow, this thing is so useful. It's compact. It's got the charging ability in it. It holds all the little parts. The only thing that it doesn't hold are the little, whatever you want to call them, dead mouse, dead cat, whatever. But it holds all that stuff in one. So you will, as long as your case is charged, it will be charged. All the components inside will be charged, and then you can go pretty much anywhere with them. So, and it's really, really small. So let me switch back to the RE20. Okay. So now I am off the DJI mic. And that is it. Now, Neil, if you're still on, you're on the SM7B, I believe. SM7B, yeah. Is that correct? Okay, close that up. And I think that's what I remember seeing you use. But those are, I mean, they're standards now. That Shure has done an incredible job getting those into the hands of as many podcasts. Yeah. Okay. So via the RCP2, perfect. Yeah. So I think the sound on the SM7B is great, and price differential between the RE20 and the SM7B is about $50 US. Yeah, I know. I think we're both. Yes, you've got the SM7B, but like you, yeah, I have a few that a few more that I want to play with. I'd love to just go to Tom Buck's place for a day and just play around with the different microphones he has. Because I'm not buying all those microphones. There's just no way we're doing that. But that's how quickly I was able to install and uninstall the DJI microphones. The clip's gone. I'm back to my RE20. Everything sounds good, and here I am. So if I was going to be back in this part of my studio, and it's just me, not having an interview guest, I would probably do the lavalier. Hey, Lala, good to see you. We're kind of slowly ramping down. I guess it's Thursday and a lot of people are just, they're dragging. I know I am. I got to tell you guys, teaching kids filmmaking, and when I say kids, I mean like 7 to 12 years old, when you're 51, is a very draining experience. I have had absolutely no problem this week so far falling asleep after I get home. It's also really cool though, because I'll take like my Osmo Pocket 3 with me to class, and I will show the kids like proper composition and framing And, one of the things that we did was we were talking about foregrounds yesterday, and foregrounds were really cool. Once they got it, they understood that foreground gives them depth, kind of like what I'm doing right now. I'm blurry in the background, and as soon as I remove my foreground, that comes into focus. They thought that was pretty cool. So, it's cool. It's cool to reach them. But Lala, did you have any questions for me? Because it looks like we're slow. Let me see how many people. I can't really tell how many people are on. Okay, so it looks like everybody's through YouTube at the moment. But if we've got no specific questions, I can wrap it up. Oh boy, what a day! Got a whole nother day today, and we're supposed to be doing like Mario animation, and trying to get the kids to do voiceovers has been an exercise in futility. They're just and the age differences, the age ranges are, oh my God. Okay, I'll leave that alone. That's another topic, but I love being able to see people's, the light bulbs come on in people's, in kids' minds when they start to see something and they go, oh, I got it. I understand. Well, if you have any questions, Lala, just go ahead and leave them. You know how to reach me on Facebook too. And feel free to reach out that way because there's Matt, Angel Matt. If you have any specific questions on microphone setup, Matt's got a really cool microphone that's got like the Starfleet logo on it. I love it. I think it's neat. The most I ever did is when I hand painted one of my Yetis, the black and gold, because I'm clearly a Saints fan. So I went ahead and I took this thing apart and I painted the parts gold and everything. But I have not put a Starfleet logo on my microphone, and that would be kind of fun to have. But Matt, can't remember which microphone you're rocking. I'd be really curious to know, because I know Neil is SM7B. Lala, what are you using for your microphone? Or do you have a specific microphone that you're using? I'd be really curious to know. Yeah, I know. Don't let the wings fool you. Yeah. Excuse me. But I would be curious to know what microphones you guys are using. Okay, so you're using how? Okay. Yeah, that's a nice mic. And you sound great on it. So I mean, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. I did want to talk briefly. You know what? I did want to talk briefly about some sound things. I know I put this in the description. With, the way that I've got this particular series set up, it opens up with a rotating animation. And and so is Matt, so is my RA20. It's an old school broadcaster mic. This is just their matte black version. I don't like I don't know what they call it. It just looks like drab green to me. But when you're setting up your audio, it comes down to what technology you have open to you. Meaning, if you have a Rodecaster Pro, for instance, the Rodecaster Pro can have effects on it, right? And music on it. So, for instance, I can't play anything for any length of time, but let's say I have some of my sound pads programmed in. So I've got, if somebody has a birthday. Happy, happy, happy birthday. Happy, happy, happy birthday. Happy, happy, happy birthday to you, to you, to you. So I've got those sound effects in. And Yeah, the Elgato Wave 3, let's see, I also use it. The Wave 3 is good. It's fine. So you're not basic. You're not. You got a lot more than a lot of other people do. So don't worry. You're kind of beating yourself up here, but no, you're. This is all good. This is all good. You got to start somewhere. Um, so I'm able to program in my effects and my sounds inside the Rodecaster Pro 2 and mix those into my stream. To me, this is a much easier way than trying to trigger a sound inside of Ecamm, because then I have to set up a button for it or a shortcut, and if I want to do that kind of thing, that I'm sorry to do that to you in the morning or in the late evening. I should have not done that one, but that drives me crazy. But with the slider or the fader that's on here for the Rodecaster Pro, see, I've assigned this fader to my sound pads here, right? So I've got different sound effects mixed in with music here. I'm not going to play some of the music because I'm sure it's copyrighted, but let me see if I can at least get it to focus. There we go. I didn't want to turn on active track, but hey, you can see my legs. All right, let me zoom in a little bit. No, we don't need to do that. Okay, well, fine. If you're going to behave that way, what is it focusing on? That's weird. So, here is this is my fader for my sound effects and some music. So, I've got those programmed in. I've got other.
You can't handle the truth.
That kind of stuff that I plug in for sound effects, and it's designed to enhance the show. Now I can bring these down. So if Jack Nicholson is kind of bugging me, I can bring his voice way down like this, and I can do that, and it's much less prominent. And this also allows me to control if I have music playing, I can control the volume of the music and slowly fade it out as I'm fading myself in. Yeah, I know. Look, hey, it takes time, but once you get the hang of it, the Rodecaster Pro does. You know what? Well, first thing, yeah, you can learn a lot just by going on YouTube, and getting tons of information, even on the RCP1. I would totally recommend that because it does enhance. If you've got access to this is way better, at least in my opinion, way better than using the sound panel inside of Ecamm. There are exceptions, and I will go over that in a second. Now, Matt made a comment here that it's fancy mounted. This is a point of sale. I can't really move it without probably pulling a cable out. It's that tight. But that particular mount is rock solid. It's heavy. It's got a nice heavy base to it, and it allows me to adjust the Rodecaster Pro to pretty much any angle. And I got it off of Amazon. I forget the brand, but it does make it so that I have access to my stuff, and I can do all my cables. I can have them kind of go around the backside like this, except for this one, which should be back here anyway, like that. So then it kind of frees up my display, and all the mess I don't even see. So it's like pay no attention to all that junk behind it, because that's the view I have in most cases. All right. So yeah, it's exactly, it's knowing your hardware is really important. And it does take off a huge workload on the computer. I noticed almost instantly when I got my Rodecaster Pro 2 that one of the first things that I saw was the performance of my Ecamm presentations went up because I was relying less on the computer to do its functions, right? So all the audio processing was offloaded onto the Rodecaster Pro 2, and it's just acting like a big sound card, right? And it's got all the effects and everything programmed on it, and it's got a hardware user interface. Yeah, I mean, yeah, those two alone. I mean, you think about it. If you look at my layout here, you can see Stream Deck, Stream Deck, Rodecaster Pro, all front and center, right next to the microphone. So yeah, I'm with you on that. The definitely a good interface, good audio interface. I really enjoy them. Okay, so let me go back to that. And okay, so the other thing I wanted to talk about is why use something like the Rodecaster Pro or any other audio interface. Well, first things first, if you're using any microphone that has XLR, which is the 3-pin connector I was talking about earlier, you're going to need to go through an interface. And what that interface does is it converts the 3-pin XLR signal to a usually USB-C these days connection. Focusrite makes some. They have like the Scarlett series, and I think for most podcasters that's fine. They also have a really cool interface called the Vocaster. They have a Vocaster 1 and a Vocaster 2. Both of those I've used, and I did really enjoy the 2 because it allowed me to have 2 XLR inputs and adjust the levels between them, and it auto adjusted gain settings, and it had the ability to pull in audio from the computer and send it back out. So it had some bit of mix minus in it, and it also had audio routing built into it. Really, really cool. However, as we've seen multiple times just through the forums on Facebook and Discord, audio is one of those black magic areas that a lot of people don't get. And even though the Focusrite, the Vocaster 2 has all these features, understanding those features is not the easiest thing to do. That's what I like about the Rodecaster, is that it's just I wouldn't say it just works, because you still have to know how to use it, but once you get it even just slightly working, then you're like, oh, I get it. I totally get it. So the other thing, I'm going to go into live demo mode real quick here. I want to talk about this. Yeah, continue to allow. Okay, so I'm in live demo mode. Matt has taken up all of my comments windows here. But this is cool. So, while I was watching here on YouTube and Matt's watching on Facebook, and I can see where those comments are coming in from, which is really cool. So you can see here, I've got my sound effects, and sound effects is kind of a misnomer in that it's really just sounds, right? It can be music, it can be sound effects, it's anything, right? And then it becomes like, well, how do I use these effects? Well, for instance, I've got a bunch of music here, and if I want the music to play, I can hit, I don't even know what these, let me get my headphones on, make sure I'm not blasting you guys with crap. Let's see here. Okay, so I've got something like this, and this is all royalty free, so I don't mind using it. But you can see next to, here, I can turn that down a little bit. There we go. And I use the fader on the RCP2 for that. I can go in here and I can adjust the volume level for this independent of what's coming out of the Rodecaster Pro, and I can also tell it to loop. So if I wanted to start playing this is embedded, or these are the settings for this sound. You can also assign this to the scene, which is add to scene, and that has a series of different controls. So if I were to add that to the scene, and now you can go here, I've got these settings. So it's taking these settings here, right? Whatever's here, And then I've got this this little cogwheel next to the scene itself inside of the scene control window here, and I can adjust the audio, which is kind of a multiplier of the level down here. Is that they just volume and not gain control? Yeah, so adjusting, yeah, exactly. It's yes, 100% Neil. But this is one of the reasons why I tend not to use sound effects or you know, any of the music inside of Ecamm. It's not that it's bad, it's just that you have far more control if you just plug that into the Rodecaster Pro and then use the Rodecaster Pro to control your music. The problem with that is that you have to program the Rodecaster Pro with that audio. And I don't know about you guys, the ones that are using the RCP2, but for those of you that are, I don't know what it is with Rode, but you can't seem to be able to drag and drop a MP3 or a WAV file onto a pad. You can do it, but then you have to restart the Rodecaster to get it to kick in, and that doesn't make any sense to me. So the user interface that's the biggest thing. The user interface for the RCP2 on the software side, on the Mac side, needs a lot of work. I know that they have continued to make improvements with it, but like, for instance, I simply, if I go to, was it Rode Central? Yeah. If I pull that up, and okay, here it is. Here's my Rode Central. If I tap, did I just crash it? No, I didn't just crash it. It's got to be around here. Did I crash it? No. Let's try that again. You know, that is one app that I haven't tried since I upgraded to Sequoia. Oh yeah, it did. It crashed. Well, let's try one more time, and then I may be dead in the water. Click on it. Nope, it's gone. Okay. Note to Rode. Your Rodecaster Central on Mac OS 10.15 Sequoia Beta 2 doesn't work. It's an instant crash if you try and click on your devices. So anyway, my whole point is that the drag and drop interface for pre-programming those pads is a pain in the butt. But I'm willing to accept that if it means far more control over my audio than I would have had through Ecamm. The only time where I'm using Ecamm and Ecamm's music or sound effects, generally not using sound effects, but the only time I'm really using it is when I'm in my title scenes. Like if I go back to this here, this is the opening. So you can see that's, I don't need my timer anymore either. Let's turn that timer off. Well, we'll just do it the old-fashioned way. Click. But you can see that music was playing, and it's set to play automatically as it's going back and forth between two different cameras. That's easy for me. Then I don't have to worry about anything. My timer is set to the length of the track that I want to have as part of my opening, and I set that up, and then that's it. But using the sound effects that are built into Ecamm, I tend not to use. I just don't use them. Now, I will tell you this. I don't know how many of you have played around with the stuff that's inside the Stream Deck marketplace. Let me pull that up over here. If you own a Stream Deck, come on, size for me. I know I'm not right clicking. Come on. Sorry, I probably should screen share this, but I'm too lazy. Okay, so you can see here underneath the Stream Deck. Now, this is, you get to this by inside your Stream Deck configuration software. If you click on this little icon here, that brings up your the Stream Deck Marketplace, or they call it Elgato Marketplace. I don't know what this is, or just Marketplace, I guess. But you can go to sounds here, and these are free to use sounds that are part of your Stream Deck purchase. So these can be, you can, if I want to use this one, for instance, I can, right? I can use that one if I want to do that. And then I just program it in to my Stream Deck. And you're like, well, that's cool. I mean, that is cool. But what if I want to have that as a separate file? Unfortunately, when you're using Stream Deck's audio files, typically speaking, you will be relegated only to working on the Stream Deck. You see here it says works only with Stream Deck. And that kind of stinks, but that's the way it is. And so the way around this, well, okay, I'm not gonna show you how to break trademarks or copyrights and that kind of stuff. But let's just say that there is a product from Rogue Amoeba that's called Audio Hijack. And Audio Hijack, skip for now. Audio Hijack allows you to pull in sources of audio, process it. These are kind of like, if you've worked with Resolve at all, this is kind of like working with Resolve's color correction. You can plug it in these containers, and then you can go to an output device. And in this case, it's going to the Rodecaster Pro 2, but it's also being saved to an MP3 file. So if I were to say play, if I make sure I've got my, is Chrome turned on? Yes, it is. So I should see, if I go to run here and I press play in Chrome, you might have noticed a little bit of orangeness going through that pipeline. That's because I just captured that audio into an MP3 file. So I'm not tied to the Stream Deck. Now, I'm not condoning circumventing any kind of trademarks or copyrights or anything like that. I'm just saying that if you want a little bit more flexibility, or let's say you own a Stream Deck, if the only place you can play it is on the Stream Deck, or triggering it on the Stream Deck, that seems kind of useless to me. And the file format that does come down only does play on the Stream Deck for some reason. You can convert it and all that other stuff. But Audio Hijack is, for me, I use this quite a bit. And again, this is from a company called Rogue Amoeba. I did link to that in the description of this video. So if you're interested in learning more about it, this is a great one for capturing audio from anywhere in your system, anywhere at all. And you can have multiple input sources going through, and you can mix them together even, which is kind of fun. So I was using this for a while, was actually passing my microphone audio from the Yeti through a couple of audio processing modules or blocks, and then outputting to Ecamm, or I would think it was outputting to a virtual mic, and that's a whole nother discussion. But I was doing that, and that worked pretty well, and it allowed me to record my audio independently too. So let me take this off of live demo mode. And we'll go back and back to page 1. Okay, so now we're gonna wrap it because I got to get going to teach these kids, um, how to make some movies. So for those of you who've been around, thank you so much. Thanks for stopping in. Tomorrow I got Andy on. Neil and Matt, I'd love to have you guys on just for chit chat. It could be about whatever. We could just set up a Zoom thing and we all just kind of, shoot the breeze on various things that are going on, questions or whatever. It can be just kind of an open discussion. I would love to have some of the, we're not necessarily newbies, but we're not 5 years into using Ecamm. We're kind of, we're relatively new in the grand scheme of things. So I'll reach out to both of you and we'll maybe make something happen. So, but like I said, Andy's going to be on tomorrow for sure. And he's doing his own Summer of Live and he's going to be doing his randomly throughout the summer. I am officially done as of tomorrow, Friday, the 27th, I believe. Or is today the 27th? I don't know. Tomorrow, 28th. There we go. The 28th. So, that'll wrap up my summer broadcasts, and then I'll Andy will take it from there. Even though we developed these completely independently of each other, it's kind of weird, and even the graphics, the opening graphics were similar. Okay, so until next time. Oh yeah, please, if you haven't already, I think everybody has, but go ahead and like and subscribe. Head over to basecamp.pro for all of my little tricks and tidbits and info and courseware and all that other fun stuff. Of course, my name is Jeremy Hubble, and it's been a fun one today. Microphones and audio can always be a challenge to get through, and I know I've just scratched the surface, and I'm going to keep scratching. We're going to keep scratching that itch, and hopefully come up with some real solutions for people that work 100% of the time. I know one can hope. One can definitely hope. All right, until next time, you guys have a great day, great evening, and I will see you on the flip side. Bye.